Imagine this. A young man vanishes without a trace, leaving behind a void that echoes through the lives of those who knew him. He leaves behind a trail of puzzling clues, each one more enigmatic than the last, leading to more questions than answers. His loved ones are left grappling with unanswered questions, their lives turned upside down as they search for any sign of him. This is the heartbreaking reality of countless families across Canada, where the pain of not knowing can be as unbearable as the loss itself. Hundreds of missing persons cases remain unsolved, each a chilling testament to lives abruptly cut short and mysteries left unsolved. These cases are not just statistics, they are stories of real people whose lives were interrupted in the most tragic ways. The vast Canadian wilderness, with its dense forests and rugged terrain, often becomes a silent keeper of secrets. Its beauty is matched only by its capacity to conceal, making it a daunting challenge for search and rescue teams. One such case, shrouded in mystery and sorrow, is the disappearance of Marshall Iwasa. His story is a haunting reminder of how quickly and inexplicably someone can vanish. This young athlete, on the cusp of adulthood, vanished into thin air, leaving behind a promising future and a community desperate for answers. He left behind a trail of baffling clues that have haunted investigators and fueled public speculation for years. Each clue, a piece of a puzzle that seems impossible to complete. The Pemberton incident, as it came to be known, is a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the deep shadows that can lurk even in the most picturesque corners of the world. It serves as a stark contrast to the serene beauty of the Canadian landscape. Marshall Iwasa, a promising athlete with a bright future ahead of him, disappeared from Lethbridge, Alberta in November 2019. His disappearance left a void in the hearts of those who knew him. He was just 26 years old, with dreams and aspirations that were abruptly cut short. His disappearance sent shockwaves through his close-knit community and beyond, leaving everyone who knew him struggling to make sense of the unthinkable. The community rallied together, holding vigils and putting up posters, hoping for a miracle. He was last seen driving a dark blue 2015 GMC Sierra pickup truck, a vehicle that would soon become a critical piece of the puzzle. The truck became a critical piece of the puzzle, a silent witness to the events that unfolded. Days later, Iwasa's truck was found over 1,000 kilometers away, in a location that only deepened the mystery. It was discovered engulfed in flames in a remote logging area near Pemberton, British Columbia. The sight of the burning vehicle was both shocking and heartbreaking. The discovery sent a collective shiver down the spines of investigators and the public alike. It was a scene that no one could have anticipated. It was a grim scene, one that only deepened the mystery surrounding Iwasa's disappearance. The charred remains of the truck stood as a stark reminder of the unknown dangers that lurk in the wilderness. It only deepened the mystery surrounding Iwasa's disappearance, leaving investigators and the public with more questions than answers. The eerie forest at twilight seemed to hold its breath, keeping its secrets hidden in the shadows. The discovery of Iwasa's burned-out truck added a layer of complexity to the investigation. It was a puzzle within a puzzle. It was a tangible link to the missing man, yet it only seemed to raise more questions than it answered. The vehicle, reduced to a charred skeleton, stood as a silent sentinel in the wilderness. It was a stark reminder of the destructive power of fire. It was also a symbol of the mystery that continued to burn bright. Forensic investigators meticulously combed through the ashes and debris for any clue that might shed light on Iwasa's whereabouts. Every fragment, every trace of evidence, was carefully collected and analyzed. The intensity of the fire had consumed much of the vehicle. It made the task painstakingly difficult. Adding another layer of intrigue to the case, investigators made a startling discovery near Iwasa's truck. They found a black duffel bag. It contained personal items that didn't belong to Iwasa. These items were later linked to another missing person, Daniel Rioch. Rioch had disappeared from the area just a few months before Iwasa. The connection between the two disappearances sent a collective gasp through the community. It raised the chilling possibility that their cases were connected. Had their paths crossed in those remote woods? Had they met with foul play at the hands of the same individual or group? The questions hung heavy in the air. They cast a long, ominous shadow over the already perplexing investigation. Daniel Rioch, a 55-year-old man from Squamish, British Columbia, had vanished without a trace just months before Iwasa's disappearance. His case was one that left the community in shock and disbelief, as he was known to be a reliable and well-liked individual. His sudden disappearance had baffled his family and friends. They were left grappling with the uncertainty and fear that comes with not knowing the fate of a loved one. The community rallied around them, offering support and assistance in any way they could. It had left local authorities struggling to find answers. The police were under immense pressure to solve the case, but every lead seemed to hit a dead end. The frustration was palpable as days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, with no significant breakthroughs. The discovery of Rioch's belongings near Iwaasa's truck immediately raised red flags. It was an unexpected twist that added a new layer of complexity to the investigation. The location was remote and difficult to access, making the discovery even more puzzling. It suggested a possible connection between the two cases. Investigators began to wonder if there was a link between the disappearances or if it was merely a coincidence. The possibility of a connection brought a renewed sense of urgency to the investigation. The items found in the duffel bag were as perplexing as they were disturbing. Each item seemed to tell a story, but none of them provided clear answers. The contents of the bag were meticulously cataloged and analyzed, but they only deepened the mystery. Among Rioch's belongings, investigators discovered a pair of size 10 shoes. This was particularly odd. The shoes were well worn, suggesting they had been used frequently, but they were not Rioch's size. Rioch wore a size 13 shoe. The discrepancy in shoe size was a significant clue, but it also raised more questions. Who did the size 10 shoes belong to, and how did they end up among Rioch's belongings? This discrepancy only deepened the mystery. Investigators were left to ponder the significance of the shoes and what they might reveal about the case. It was a small detail, but one that could potentially unlock new insights. Who did the size 10 shoes belong to? This question haunted the investigators as they continued to piece together the puzzle. The shoes were a tangible piece of evidence, but their origin remained elusive. Was this an oversight, or did it point to the involvement of another unknown individual? The possibility of another person being involved added a new dimension to the investigation. It was a theory that needed to be explored thoroughly. The RCMP launched a thorough investigation into Rioch's disappearance. They brought in additional resources and expertise to assist with the case. The goal was to leave no stone unturned in their quest for answers. They treated it as suspicious from the outset. Every piece of evidence was scrutinized, and every lead was followed up on. The investigators were determined to find out what had happened to Rioch. They followed every lead and explored every possible avenue. Witnesses were interviewed, and search teams combed through the wilderness in hopes of finding any clue that might shed light on the case. However, despite their best efforts, the case remained unsolved. The lack of progress was disheartening, but the investigators refused to give up. They knew that persistence was key in solving such complex cases. The mystery of Daniel Rioch continued to cast a long shadow over the already perplexing case of Marshall Iwasa. The similarities between the two cases were striking, and the possibility of a connection could not be ignored. It was a haunting reminder that sometimes, even the most dedicated efforts to uncover the truth can be met with silence. The investigators were left to grapple with the uncertainty and the weight of the unsolved cases. The connection between the two disappearances sent chills down the spines of investigators. It was a chilling thought that there might be a larger, more sinister force at play. It raised more questions than answers. Had their paths crossed? Were they victims of the same perpetrator, or was it a mere coincidence? The investigators were determined to find out. Was there a sinister force at play in the wilderness? The remote and rugged terrain added to the sense of foreboding. It was a place where secrets could easily be hidden. The possibility, however remote, was too significant to ignore. The investigators knew they had to consider every angle, no matter how unlikely it seemed. The RCMP had a mystery on their hands, one that was as complex as it was tragic. The search for answers continued, driven by the hope that one day the truth would be revealed. The remote and rugged terrain surrounding Pemberton, British Columbia, posed significant challenges for investigators. This area, with its jagged peaks and dense forests, is both a marvel of nature and a formidable barrier to those seeking answers. The area, known for its breathtaking beauty and unforgiving wilderness, became a double-edged sword in the search for answers. The stunning vistas and serene landscapes masked the harsh realities faced by those who ventured into its depths. Its vastness, while awe-inspiring, also made it the perfect place to disappear. The sheer scale of the wilderness meant that even the most experienced searchers could easily become disoriented and lost. The dense forests and treacherous mountains seemed to hold their secrets close. The thick canopy of trees and the rugged terrain created a labyrinthine environment that was nearly impossible to navigate without extensive knowledge and preparation. They whispered tales of those who had vanished within their embrace. The stories of lost hikers and missing adventurers added an eerie sense of foreboding to the already daunting task of searching the area. The challenging environment hampered search efforts on multiple fronts. The thick underbrush and steep inclines made it difficult for search teams to cover ground quickly, and the ever-present danger of wildlife added another layer of risk. The dense undergrowth and treacherous slopes made it difficult for search and rescue teams to conduct thorough ground searches. Every step was a struggle, and the possibility of injury was a constant concern. The vastness of the area meant that even with aerial support, covering every inch of ground was a near impossible task. Helicopters and drones provided some assistance, but the dense canopy often obscured the view from above. Nature, it seemed, was a silent witness, guarding its secrets closely. The stillness of the forest and the quiet rustle of leaves in the wind seemed to suggest that the land itself was aware of the mysteries it held. The unpredictable weather patterns of the region added another layer of complexity to the investigation. Sudden changes in weather could turn a clear day into a dangerous situation within minutes. Sudden snowstorms could blanket the area in a thick white veil, obscuring potential clues and making travel impossible. The heavy snowfall could cover tracks and other evidence, making it even harder to find any trace of the missing. The harsh winters with their freezing temperatures and heavy snowfall could erase any trace of human presence. The cold could be deadly, and the snow could hide any signs of life or struggle. Time in those conditions was the enemy. Every passing hour reduced the chances of finding the missing alive, and the relentless march of time weighed heavily on the search teams. Every passing day diminished the chances of finding answers. The changing seasons brought new challenges, and the window of opportunity to find clues before they were lost forever grew smaller with each day. Despite the challenges, investigators remained undeterred. Their resolve was strengthened by the knowledge that they were the only hope for the families of the missing. They knew that somewhere in that vast and unforgiving wilderness, the truth lay hidden. The determination to uncover the truth drove them to push through the physical and emotional toll of the search. They were determined to find it. The faces of the searchers showed a mix of exhaustion and unwavering resolve, a testament to their commitment to the mission. They owed it to the families of the missing men. The emotional weight of the families' hopes and fears was a constant reminder of the importance of their work. They owed it to themselves. The searchers' own sense of duty and the drive to find answers kept them going, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. They would not rest until they had uncovered the truth, no matter how long it took. The search was more than a mission. It was a promise to bring closure to the families and to honor the missing by finding the answers they deserved.